transparent and consistent procedures for managing conflict of interest. In all its assessment processes, the Canada Council relies on clear procedures to manage potential conflicts of interest in an ethical manner. In selecting committee members actively involved in the fields of the applicants or nominees, the Council makes a conscientious effort to identify relationships between peer assessors and applicants or nominees with a view to avoiding conflict of interest. Prior to each peer assessment committee meeting, members receive a conflict of interest disclosure form that defines, in the Council's view, what is a real or perceived conflict of interest. They must complete this form and disclose any potential conflict of interest before deliberations begin. They must complete this form even if they have nothing to disclose, to indicate that they have considered the question. The same applies to external assessors and standing committees of peers. Conflict of interest exists or may exist if peer assessors, external assessors, or standing committee members are asked to assess a grant application, prize application nomination, artwork or artistic production, from an employer, a client, or an organization where they are a board member, from an organization where they acted as a consultant through the Canada Council's Flying Squad program, where they have a direct financial interest in the success or failure of an application or nomination, where the applicant or nominee is their spouse or partner or immediate family member, where their spouse or partner or immediate family member is a senior staff member, contractor, or board member with the applicant organization, where they and the applicant or nominee have been involved in legal proceedings against each other. In addition, peer assessors may judge that they are unable, for any other reason, to assess an application, nomination, or artistic production objectively. For literary prizes, in addition to all points listed above, conflict of interest exists if the assessor edited one of the books. Conflict of interest may exist for literary prizes if the assessor directly contributed to shaping the contents of one of the books, the assessor has written a promotional text or review of one of the books, the assessor's name is listed in the acknowledgments section of one of the books, in a way that implies a direct contribution to the book. The Killam Program, in addition to all points listed above literary prizes, the academic and scholarly context of this program requires specific guidelines. Conflict of interest exists where the external evaluators or the members of a standing committee of peers are in the same research unit or university department as the applicant or nominee, share an administrative link with the applicant or nominee, for example, head of department, dean of faculty, etc. Have collaborated with the applicant or nominee or any member of their research team within the last 5 years. Have published with the applicant or nominee within the last 5 years. Assessors who have or feel they could have a conflict of interest must contact the program officer immediately to discuss the situation. Conflict of interest situations are reviewed on a case-by-case basis, and determination is made as to whether the committee member is able to serve on the committee in question or contribute to the evaluation of the grant application. In the case of prizes, the Canada Council only invites assessors who are believed to be free of conflict with the entire pool of applications or nominations, so as to have all committee members present for the entire meeting. The Killam Program Standing Committee is an exception. Conflict of interest is handled in a similar manner to the grant programs committees. In a committee awarding grants, peer assessors who declare a conflict of interest must remove themselves from the process while the application in question is being discussed. Other committee members must not talk about this application at any time with the peer assessor who is in conflict. Art Bank Purchase Committee members who declare a conflict of interest either leave the meeting room or simply abstain from voting, depending on the significance of the conflict of interest. Canada Council employees must also disclose any potential conflict of interest with any applications submitted to the Canada Council. They must inform their head of section and divisional director so the Council can ensure the integrity of its assessment process. They must remove themselves from the assessment of the file or from the entire process, depending on the circumstance. The Canada Council recognizes that the potential for conflict of interest will always exist when expertise and current knowledge are required in the assessment of competing proposals. To attempt to devise rules that would eliminate all potential for conflict of interest would risk reducing vision and expert judgment to a bureaucratic exercise. The challenge is to recognize that conflict is always possible and to avoid it where feasible, and to be ready to manage it when it does occur so that the ultimate outcome is in the public interest. At the end of the meeting, all committee members must sign the Peer Assessment Committee sign-off form confirming the committee's list of final recommendations, the actions taken regarding conflicts of interest, and the peer assessor's commitment to confidentiality and non-disclosure.